What is up, everyone? It's Quinn here, and in today's video, I'm going to be going through my top 12 defenses for week 9 of the NFL season. I've already posted the running backs, wide receivers, quarterbacks, and tight ends. This video is all about the defenses, and despite having 4 teams on bye, I still think there are a lot of really quality options this week, and so let's dive right into Tier 1. My first Tier 1 option is going to be the Rams going up against the Saints. This is like the prime matchup of finding a really good defense going up against a pretty bad offense. The Rams this season are 4th in fantasy points per game. The Saints offense has not been great. Defenses going up against them are scoring the 4th most points per game this season. They're turning to a new starting quarterback in Tyler Shuck. We have no idea what he's going to look like. And then Vegas is not super high on the Saints either. They have the lowest implied point total this week, all the way down at 15.5. So just a great spot here for the Rams. Trust their offense. Trust any defense going up against the Saints. Rams come in here at number 1. Then at number 2, my other tier 1 option, going to go with the Chargers going up against the Titans. Now, I don't quite have the same confidence in the Chargers defense as I do with the Rams, but I'm also very, very confident with any defense going up against the Titans. They are 1st in fantasy points allowed to defenses. Their implied point totals all the way down at 16. The Titans are 1st in sacks allowed and also 1st in fumbles lost. So just a great spot here with the Chargers, coming off a very solid game against the Vikings. Now, pivoting into tier 2, going to start it off with the Packers going up against the Panthers. Could definitely see an argument for the Packers being up in tier 1. Personally, have them leading tier 2. The Panthers are all the way down at 16 implied points. We'll see what the quarterback situation is looking like. Obviously, if you're playing the Packers, I think you'd prefer to have Andy Dalton back there. He looked really rough in week 8. I mean, like just a statue in the pocket. He didn't even have like that veteran presence. Like you have that end of the first half debacle where he like takes a really bad sack. The clock runs out. They don't get to kick a field goal. So if Dalton's out there, I think you could certainly make the case that the Packers move up into tier 1. Defenses going up against the Panthers are top 6 in fantasy points per game. And then from a fantasy perspective, like the Packers defense hasn't been great, only 23rd in points per game, but this is just a really nice spot here against the Panthers. Then continuing on with tier 2, I have the Lions going up against the Vikings. Looks like it's going to be J.J. McCarthy this week. Carson Wentz out for the season. Defenses going up against the Vikings are scoring the 3rd most fantasy points per game. And it hasn't really just been like one specific quarterback. Like the offense was rough with McCarthy. It was also pretty rough with Carson Wentz. I guess maybe McCarthy is the higher ceiling, but it's probably something where he's going to develop throughout the season. Don't think he comes back off of injury and looks like amazing here in week 9. This Lions defense has also been very good. They are 7th in points per game. And then the Vikings are bottom 5 in implied points this week. Lions, really, really strong play. Then I've got the Broncos going up against the Texans. Broncos defense been very good, 8th in points per game. Had a solid performance against one of the best offenses in the NFL with the Cowboys. The Broncos are leading the NFL in sacks by 10 full sacks, so that is insane. And then the Texans offense just hasn't been great. They have the 4th lowest implied point total this week. Broncos in my top 5. And then the final tier 2 defense, I've got the Patriots going up against the Falcons. The Patriots are actually the number 1 defense in points per game so far. Now, they haven't faced the toughest strength of schedule. It's actually been pretty soft, but it's not like they're having a major step up here against the Falcons. The Falcons are bottom 6 in implied points. This is an offense that's banged up. Are we getting Penix? Is Drake London going to be back? I mean, if it was Kirk Cousins, he was looking like a complete statue back there in week 8. So even if those guys are healthy, I still like the Patriots this week as like a mid-tier defense 1. Now moving into tier 3, going to start off this tier with the Jaguars going up against the Raiders. Jaguars have been solid. They're 9th in fantasy points per game. Defenses going up against the Raiders are scoring the 2nd most points per game. This Raiders offense has just been extremely disappointing. Geno's been really bad. The Raiders are tied for the league lead in interceptions. It does seem like they're going to get Brock Bowers back, so maybe, he provides a spark. Jacoby Myers could potentially get moved, so he might not even be suiting up in this game. I just think the Jaguars are a nice play. Then I've got the Texans going up against the Broncos, and even though they're underdogs in this game, I still trust this defense going up against Denver. The Texans are second in points per game so far. They've just been really tough over the last few weeks. They've been a lot more opportunistic, forcing turnovers, but throughout the entire season, they've been great at just like, mitigating the opponent's scoring. And then the Broncos, despite being favorites, are still seventh lowest in terms of their implied points. Broncos offense has looked good the past couple of weeks, but this is definitely a major step up in competition on the defensive side of the ball going up against the Texans. After the Texans, I've got the Ravens going up against the Dolphins. And this Ravens defense was completely terrible to start off the season. They were extremely banged up, but they did definitely get a lot healthier over the bye. Had a pretty solid performance going up against the Bears. And then I know Miami's coming off a strong game in week 8, but I still don't trust this offense. Defenses going up against the Dolphins are scoring the 8th most fantasy points per game. And then just from like a vibes perspective, like kind of like looking into my crystal ball, this seems like it could be one of those like Tua primetime disaster classes. And so I do like the Ravens here as like a solid option. And then the final defense that I'm going with in tier 3 is going to be the Seahawks going up against the Commanders. The Seahawks are second in points per game so far this season. They're just a really strong, respectable defense. We'll see about the status of Jaden Daniels. I will say if it's not Daniels this week, and also if like Terry's banged up, I think you could certainly make the case for the Seahawks getting bumped into like at least tier 2. This is assuming Daniels is playing, so I have them here at number 10. If he's not, I do think, there definitely could be an adjustment there. And then the fourth and final tier, even though there's 4 teams on bye, I still think both of these options are like fine. So I've got the Colts at number 11. They're 5th in points per game so far. I was kind of surprised. I think I talked about this in one of the earlier rankings videos, but like the betting line for this game, I think the Colts are only 3-point favorites. The Steelers have a pretty respectable 23 and a quarter implied points. The Colts have been fairly opportunistic, like, they'll force turnovers. Their pass rush has been pretty solid, but they can give up points, can give up yards. So it'll be interesting to see if they can actually force the turnovers here against the Steelers, but I think they're a fine like back end defense one play. And then the final defense here, going with the 49ers going up against the Giants. Giants, another team that I think, getting a lot of respect this week, maybe kind of surprising from Vegas. 23 implied points despite looking at their supporting cast, losing Cam Scatabo. The 49ers just like, they're keeping their head above water on the defensive side of the ball, but missing out on Nick Bosa, missing out on Fred Warner. Like, they just don't have those elite options on this defense at this point. So I think the Giants could be fine, but it's also like you're not terrified going up against this like current New York Giants offense with a lot of their weapons banged up and out for the season. So 49ers, fine option to close out this video. But that is going to wrap it up for my top 12. If you guys enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe. Check out all my other rankings videos. I've got the flex rankings coming out tomorrow, my top 70. So stay tuned for that. Thank you all for stopping by, and I will see you in the next one.